Well, here we are for part 3 of the ice fishing chalet build, or bugout machine, whatever you want to call it. So, after much deliberation, measuring, laying everything out on paper, trying to figure out the floor plan for this thing, I've changed my mind how I'm going to split this frame and make this frame bigger. Originally, it was just going to be split down the center, and then split here, made longer, made wider, and I thought all that would be great. But I run into a couple problems, and only one real problem. Extending the trailer 1 foot this way, and then where these propane tanks sit in the jack stand. When I have my quad in the back of my truck, I have to have the tailgate down. There's not enough room between the end of my tailgate and where the propane tanks are for me to turn. So what I've decided, I'm not going to make this thing wider. The floor plan laid out perfectly, so I can save myself a lot of work. But I am going to still cut it here where this little line is. Going to add 3 feet here. And I'm going to cut it back here as well and add 1 foot this way. And then I'm going to cut the propane tank holders and stuff off here and bring it back as far as I can, almost touching. And that way, with the jack folded up, my tailgate will have lots of clearance over top of the trailer hitch, and also making a sharp turn, it won't hit my tanks. So, not exactly what I wanted, but it will save me a lot of trouble, and it'll save my tailgate. So, without further ado, let's start cutting. Alright, so this is what we got. So I got the frame cut in half. I have this heavy walled tubing here. So I'm going to take 2 of these. I'm going to stitch them together down both sides. Then we're going to slide it inside the frame rails here. This space is going to be stretched out an extra 12 inches. And then we'll weld it around each round the pipe. Then I'm actually going to drill 2 1/2 inch or 3/4 inch holes through each side here, straight through, and then I'm going to plug weld it. I'm going to weld the hole through this side of the frame into this tube. So it'll be welded all the way around each end of the tube. 4 plug welds, 2 this side, 2 this side, then 2 more here and 2 on the other side. And that should be strong enough. When we do this up, we're going to get a straight edge. And we're going to put it right across the whole frame while I'm welding to make sure it does stay flat. And then of course measuring from always the front edge, that's where I took my measurements from, to make sure that this trailer is square when I'm done. There we go. We got the back end of the trailer extended. Not the prettiest thing. I end up running out of gas for the MIG welder, but it will do. It'll hold. The trailer's still square. It's straight, and that's all that really matters. So we'll be doing the split here next. Going 36 inches. This one was 12. And then for the outside channel, which is more decoration than anything, we remove this cross brace to build the square hole for ice fishing and dropping the lines through. We'll take that channel and we'll cut it to weld in there. And the same thing up front. I'm going to be taking this one out, and we'll be able to use the pieces, the 2 halves, to bridge the gap out here. So spin this thing around. We'll cut the front off it. Well, I need to apologize. Yesterday, working on the trailer, I forgot my phone and my camera at home. So I didn't want to make a trip back into the shop, and I didn't want to waste a day, so I continued on. You can see here I just threw some paint on the exposed metal that I ground and cut off. But I also extended the front of the trailer. So we now made it 12 inches back here and 36 up front here. We just did the same process, cut it in half, the same steel, 2 together. I pounded inside each end of the tube, squared it up and welded her. So now all I'm doing is where I cut the outside rail here, it's not really structural, just more of a decorative thing, but I've cut the cross members out that are inside here. I'm going to use that metal to form the outside frame so it all looks consistent, and then inside I'll put some more of this heavy tubing across where floor joists are going to go, and then the fish hole, probably about, well, not quite 4 feet by 2 feet, will go right up here in the front, and then the bunk beds will be right here. So things are going good. Frame is still staying straight so far. Got a slight bow downwards in it here. I put the jack under here and just 2 little pumps of the jack and it straightened out, so there's just barely a bit of a bow in it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave the jack under it. I'm going to end up burning off a lot of this paint. I'm going to heat these rails. That'll cause them to relax a little bit because it was straight before I welded it. So it'll just relax those 2 little beams, and then it should straighten itself out. But it's also enough that as I bolt down the floor, because the 2x4s are going to be glued to the plywood, it will probably pull itself up as well. But project is going good. I'm happy with it, and hopefully get this thing home soon to start laying down some 2x4s. There we are, first side done. Little 12-inch piece at the back there, and then the other part of it made the 36-inch gap. This little, whatever this is, a step fit on this originally from the original trailer, but I think I'm going to end up just cutting that off, getting rid of it, or I might just leave it. I don't really care, not a big deal. Anyway, on to the second side. We're going to pull out this cross member here. Same thing, 12 inches, 36 inches up front, and that'll have that part completed. There we go, second side done. The expansion or lengthening of this frame is complete. And just with a little bit of pressure I put in the middle when I welded the side rails on, it took the dip out of it. And when I measured it out here, so from corner to corner, crossways for square, out only about just a hair under a 1/16 about a square. So that's perfect. It's only a single axle, so it'll track that little bit off and not worry about tire wear. If it was a double axle, I might have to adjust it a little bit or something. But anyway, I'm happy with the way that worked out. So I got my width, well, I guess my width stayed the same, but I got the length that I want. So next, I'm going to cut off the propane holder, make a couple new rails, and move this basically right back to the wall. That'll give me that nice distance from my tailgate to the tanks and the battery. The battery's going to end up putting on a bracket as well, just in front of the tanks, so that I can have my tailgate down while I pull my quad. Straight as an arrow. Well, here we are. Frame is done. Back out on the farm. And there's my battery box and the propane holders that I moved back. So they're with the hitch, the length of the tongue there, there's enough room. I was able to turn it at a good angle and not touch anything, so perfect. Anyway, that is the end of part 3. The frame is done. Now it's time to double check my measurements, pick up my lumber, and time to build a floor. And again, as always, thanks for watching.